today we have to read in the middle of a para, but then that's not a very good idea. So we'll go back to the para beginning, the Gita, making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna. We'll read from there. Okay. We are still in the chapter equality. Remember, equality is a very, very important concept in yoga. All yogas will need equality. Not a single yoga will say equality is not important. Equality is absolutely important. Because equality means what? No movement. Absolutely no vital movement, no mental movement. Okay. Physical movement also, if it is there, it will not make any difference to your static condition in the vital. Absolutely dynamically static, not lazily static. Dynamically static. You are full of power and full of attention and full of concentration, but there is no movement, firmness. That is the equality. So I'll start reading again from the beginning of the para, and we're going to finish it today. Okay, so everybody is describing the Rajasic equality, I think. We'll see. So I'm reading each sentence. The Gita, making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna. Okay, remember, he is a warrior, but his reaction is that of a non-warrior. Okay, he's saying, I won't fight. The Gita, making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna, starts with this heroic movement. If you remember, the equality, tamasic equality is the absolutely the withdrawal from the difficulties of the physical world in a very defeative manner, in a defeated manner. But that's the tamasic equality. But the Rajasic equality is that which takes up the obstacle and conquers it. Okay? It goes out and conquers it. Okay, and becomes master of the difficulty. So, Gita, making its call on the warrior nature of Arjuna, starts with this heroic movement. Okay, you challenge the difficulties and face them and conquer them. It calls on him to turn on the great enemy desire and slay it. Desire is the biggest one, so you have to slay the desire. Its first description of equality is that of the Stoic philosophy. Stoicism, as I said, is a philosophy propagated in Europe by the Greeks. Okay? His name was Zeno, Z-E-N-O, and he was there at the peak of Greek culture, 300 BC. Okay? Even Sremna was there at that time in Greece. Stoic philosophy. Stoicism means what? Stoicism means facing the difficulties of life and pleasantries also, but without being absolutely disturbed, without being absolutely, you have to remain calm and quiet. Now, says this quoting from the Gita. He whose mind is undisturbed in the midst of sorrows and amid pleasures also is free from desire, because even pleasure can give you excitement. And excitement is a vital thing, and it is reacting. There should be no reaction at all. He whose mind is undisturbed in the midst of sorrows and amid pleasures is free from desire, from whom liking and fear and wrath have passed away. He is the sage of settled understanding. This is, I think, the second chapter and the 59th verse. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, that's right. So that's the 59th verse. Okay, so, yeah, we will read. Yeah.
No,
yes.
What first, the equality or the cessation of desire?
No, Pallavi, what you are asking, I couldn't understand.
No, I mean, equality comes after you stop having desires, or when you have equality, you don't have desires.
No, no, no. Every human being has, even animals have desires. Desire is there right from your birth. Okay? And when you start wanting to do yoga, when you don't want to be part of the world's miseries and things, and you realize that you have to become calm and quiet, then the equality starts. You try to make an equality. Everybody has got desires. And desires, you get excited when something pleasant happens, and you get discouraged when the unpleasantness is there. So that desire always comes first. The equality kills the desire. Okay? He whose mind is undisturbed in the midst of sorrows and amid pleasures is free from desire, from whom liking and fear and wrath have passed away. He is completely free from likes and dislikes. He is absolutely calm and quiet, impartial. And naturally then, fear also can't come and also wrath can't come. Anger. He is a sage of settled understanding, who in all things is without affection, though visited by this good or that evil, and hates nor rejoices. His intelligence sits firmly founded in wisdom. This is the and then he says something very interesting. If one abstains from food, it says, it is the Gita, giving a physical example, the object of sense ceases to affect, but the affection itself of the sense, the rasa, remains. Okay, I think we discussed this last time. Okay, when the man who has got desire enjoys the taste of the rasagulla, he enjoys, and when he enjoys, desire is born. Okay? But the man who has conquered his desire, if he tastes the rasagulla, it is not that it is tasteless. The taste remains, but the attachment to the taste disappears. That's what is being said. Okay. So, if one abstains from food, it says, giving a physical example, the object of sense ceases to affect, but the affection itself of the sense, the rasa, remains. It is only when, even in the exercise of the sense, it can keep back from seeking its sensuous aim in the object, artha, okay, and abandon the affection, the desire for the pleasure of taste, that of the highest level of the soul, is reached. The desire disappears. Taste doesn't disappear. In fact, taste starts coming from for everything. Even those things which you found disgusting taste before, now it doesn't seem so disgusting at all. Okay? The taste is there. It is by using the mental organs on the objects, ranging over them with the senses. Vishayan Indriyas Charan. This is very interesting. When you are expecting something, already you start enjoying even before eating. Oh, today this is there. That's my favorite food. And then even salivation. Okay, the saliva starts. It's just like in the Pavlovian experiment with dogs. Na? You know that, na? What happened was that the dog was, when his food was ready, Pavlov used to ring a bell. Okay, so the dog knows slowly that when the bell rings, my food will come. Okay, then what he did afterwards, he rang the bell, but he stopped giving the food, and yet the dog was saliva was collecting in his mouth. So that expectation of the taste is there. So that's exactly what taste doesn't disappear. But the attachment in human beings to taste will disappear if you have conquered your desire. That's what is being said. Okay? The desire for the pleasure of taste, that highest level of the soul is reached. It is by using the mental organs of the objects, ranging over them with the senses. Vishayan is objects of sense. Indriya is charan. With the senses, you are enjoying the object. You are looking at it, seeing how beautiful it is, and playing with the senses on the object, desired object. But with senses subject to the self, freed from liking and disliking, that one gets into a large and sweet clearness of soul and temperament in which passion and grief find no place. The substance of the vital becomes absolutely clear. Prasannata is the word used. Prasanna. Clear, absolutely. Transparent. There is no liking and disliking. Remember, liking and disliking gives a color to the vital. Liking and disliking, that's why the word raga is used. Raga is the coloring of emotions. That coloring disappears entirely when desire is conquered. Okay? But with senses subject to the self freed from liking and disliking, then one gets into a large and sweet clearness of soul and temperament in which passion and grief find no place. Exactly in the same way, the color of your thoughts are yellow. Okay, the mind's color is yellow. Okay, and that yellow, when your mind is absolutely free, it becomes like a transparent, still lake. Okay? There's no more coloring in the mind. It's absolutely a clear, transparent substance. It becomes exactly the same way in the vital. You know that the colors of the vital are violet. Okay, then sometimes red also, a little. These are the purple. These are the colors in the vital. Sometimes other colors also can be there. All now, very interesting image that she's giving in the Gita. All desires have to enter into the soul as waters into the sea, and yet it has to remain immovable, filled but not disturbed. So, in the end, all desires can be abandoned. Okay? So, all desires can be abandoned, just as the river enters the sea, but the sea remains absolutely unchanged. The river disappears. The river is a desire that comes into the sea, and it disappears into a calm, quiet, vital and mental nature. There is no effect on it at all. All desires have to enter into the soul as waters enter the sea, and yet it has to remain immovable, filled but not disturbed. The desire is coming inside, but it is not leaving you disturbed in any way. So, in the end, all desires can be abandoned. To be freed from wrath and passion and fear and attraction is repeatedly. Yes.
What this sea is, this sea, enter into sea, what this sea is?
Which is the sentence you are referring to? Huh?
This one, just we have, just what all desires have to end, sorry.
Into the
all desires have to enter into the soul as the waters into the sea.
Water into the sea, huh? What is this sea? What comparison is, which one is the sea here?
It is the sea. Just as the river enters into the sea, the desire also is entering into the soul, actually vital, but the soul is absolutely undisturbed. It is a sea. It has to remain immovable, filled but not disturbed. Now it's clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is the sea?
It is a sea.
But if that is sea, that is soul. That is soul, yes. Soul. That is soul. Yes. Okay. Okay.
But it's a question of literature. Grammatically, it means a sea. But if you want the image, if you want to use the image, it means the soul. Okay? He is making comparison. Nah? There, on the one side, there is a desire entering into the soul, just as the river is entering into the sea, and the sea is not disturbed at all. Okay? So that's a comparison. It's a beautiful image. Okay? So it is the sea on one side, and it is the soul on the other side. Okay? The river is the desire, and the desire leaves the soul absolutely untouched, filled but not disturbed. So in the end, all desires can be abandoned. Now, to be freed from wrath and passion and fear and attraction is repeatedly stressed as a necessary condition for the liberated status. Status means no movement at all, static. Okay, status is a condition where there is no movement at all, okay? Immutability. And for this, we must learn to bear their shocks. First, you have to learn how to bear the shocks. That is stoicism, which cannot be done without exposing ourselves to their causes. There you are. So, you should not run away from the things that are disturbing you. And I like to give the example of the Rasgulla again and again. So, if you are so attached to Rasgulla, you say, okay, I'll stop eating it. Okay. So, simply saying, no, you have to continue eating and attract the attraction to it. The desire for it must disappear. But simply saying, I won't eat Rasgullas doesn't solve the problem. Okay. The desire will continue to remain. You have only given up the physical action. That doesn't help at all. So that's what I'm saying. We must learn to bear the shocks, which cannot be done without exposing ourselves to their causes. Okay? So this should not be misinterpreted and say you want to conquer your desire for the Rasgulla, keep eating more and more Rasgullas. Don't interpret it that way. It is that when the opportunity comes, you don't buck away. You don't get afraid and say, no, I won't eat because I've got desire. That's not the way. The way is to distance yourself from the taste and the desire. Eat it as calmly and quietly as possible. Okay? That's what to be free from that way. He who can bear here in the body the velocity of wrath and desire is the yogin, the happy man, because he is not disturbed in any case. Titiksha. Titiksha is the capacity to bear the shock. Okay? Titiksha, the will and power to endure, is the means. So titiksha is the first condition of equality. The second condition of equality, he will tell you later on, is you have achieved the static condition and you go to the self. That's level 2. When your consciousness rises to level 2, you are not disturbed at all by anything because you are separated yourself from your body, mind, life, so nothing disturbs you. That is the second level. But that is equality, which Srimdo calls negative, because you are free from pain, but you are also free from pleasure, but you are not enjoying anything. You are free from both. Okay? Then you go to the third level and you start enjoying everything, okay, without attachment. So these are the 3 steps of equality. Titiksha, then the settled equality, and finally the capacity to enjoy everything. Okay, these are the 3 steps. The material touches which cause heat and cold, happiness and pain, things transient which come and go, these learn to endure. Is the advice of the Gita. Things which come, okay? Things transient which come and go. Note the word transient, because finally when the divine consciousness comes in, it is not transient anymore, it has to become permanent. Okay? So all things which are transient, you have to learn to endure. Be as little affected as possible by these things. It's not only physical things, okay? Insults, praises, okay? All these things also matter even more. One gets disturbed even more with that. The material touches which cause heat and cold, happiness and pain, things transient which come and go, these learn to endure. For the man whom these do not trouble or pain, the firm and wise, who is equal in pleasure and suffering, makes himself apt for immortality. He becomes fit for immortality. And what is meant by immortality? You realize that you are the soul and not the body, mind, life. And when you realize that you are the soul, you realize that you have always been existing and you will continue to exist. That is immortality. Immortality has nothing to do with the body at present. Later on it will be different, but at present, immortality is not of the body, mind, life, nor your personality, but the person, the soul. Okay? The equal soul has to bear suffering and not hate, to receive pleasure and not rejoice. Okay? Neither suffering nor pleasure should disturb you. Even the physical affections. By the way, the word affection, you have to understand correctly. Affection means love, okay, usually. But it's not used in that sense. To be affected, the result of outward touches on you, they affect you. The word is used in that sense. Okay? So sometimes you may not understand this, the English part of it. So the physical affections, that which affect you, okay, are to be mastered by endurance. And this too is part of the Stoic discipline. Age, death, suffering, pain are not fled from, but accepted and vanquished by high indifference. Okay? This high indifference, there's a footnote. Okay? Dhiras tatra na muhyati. The one who is dhira. Dhira is one who is absolutely stable in consciousness. Dhira, stable in the consciousness, absolutely. He is not confused by these things. Tatra na muhyati, says the Gita. The strong and wise soul is not perplexed, troubled, or moved by them. But still, they are accepted only to be conquered. Jara marana mokshaya yatanti. You continue to try to be not affected at all by all these things. That's what he said. Not to flee appalled from nature in her lower masks, but to meet and conquer her is the true instinct of the strong nature, Purusha Arshabha. Purusha Arshabha. The Rishabha is the bull. Okay? And in Sanskrit, the bull is very often used as a sign of excellence. So Purusha, who is a Rishabha, okay, Purusha Arshabha, he is the same they use the word leonine. But the word Rishabha means the bull. Okay? So the leonine soul among men. That means to say lion-like, strong, courageous, untroubled very easily, not troubled at all. Thus compelled, she throws aside her mask and reveals to him his true nature as a free soul, not her subject, but her king and lord, Swarat Samrat. So this sentence we see again, not to flee apart from nature. In her lower masks. What are the lower masks? The apara prakriti, the lower nature of the vital and the body, vital and mind. And that is where there is desire, attachment, and ego. That is the lower masks. Because there is a higher mask for the nature, which is para prakriti. And that is the opposite of all these things. There is no egoism, there is no attachment, and there is no desire at all. That's the para prakriti, superior nature. Okay, so higher nature and lower nature is the word Srimanga uses. Lower nature is what normally human beings have, and the main characteristics of that are attachment, desire, and ego. Okay? So in the higher, none of these things exist. That happens when you go into the second level of consciousness. The higher nature starts its work already there. Okay, but the perfection comes only at the third level when you reach the supramental status. Okay. I read that last bit again. Not to flee from apart from nature. This is what the weak man does. And that's exactly what Arjuna is doing. He is running away from his nature. Okay? His nature is to fight, but he is running away and saying, I won't fight. He is subject to the lower masks of nature. But to meet and conquer her is a true instinct of the strong nature, Purusharshava, the lion soul among men. Thus compelled, so when you stand back and control your own desires, attachment, ego, which means you are challenging your own weak nature, thus compelled, your nature, which is lower, now becomes the higher. She throws aside her mask. What is the mask? The lower nature. Lower nature of, as I said, attachment, ego, desire. Okay? These are thrown away. And she reveals to him his true nature as a free soul. That's a para prakriti, the higher nature. Not her subject, but her king and lord. Okay? Swarat Samrat. The free soul is the king, he is the ruler of the nature. He controls his nature fully. In the lower nature, your soul is subject to the nature. But in the higher, you are completely master of your own nature. That's what it's meant. Okay, so now we can go to the next one. But the Gita accepts this Stoic discipline. The next one, he has discussed the tamasic equality. In this one, he has discussed the rajasic equality. And in the next one, he is going to discuss the next two paragraphs. He is going to discuss the sattvic equality. So, one of
Can
you
I
has to
ask
read.
a question, please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
You mentioned that in the 3rd century BC, when Zeno was there, Sri Aurobindo was also there.
Yes.
So any idea what Sri Aurobindo was at that time?
That is a question that bothered me also a lot. Okay. But I can only give a wild guess. Okay. And the wild guess is that he could have been, he has not given any indication anywhere, okay, of what he was. He has only given a hint that he was a friend of Dilip Kumar Roy, who was also in Greece at that time. Okay, that's the only thing he has given. But Sri Aurobindo, there's a book by Amal Kiran, Sri Aurobindo in Greece. Maybe
Yes.
in that book you'll find a hint. But my guess is that he may have been Heraclitus, because he has written a whole article on Heraclitus and his philosophy. And there he has even discussed the subtleties of Heraclitus' philosophy. Because it says fire is the ultimate substance and the ultimate reality, that is Heraclitus. But Sremdo gives even psychological interpretations of Heraclitus. So it is possible that he would have been there. But of course, this is a wild guess. He has not given himself what he was. There is no hint anywhere.
I think
It's
there was a big article in Mother India about him.
I don't know. I don't remember. It will be interesting. Okay, I'll do a search. I'll tell my team in Mother.
A few months ago, and I was wondering why he's going into such depth of this guy, And it was, of course, Greek and Latin to me, because it was in such depth that it went above my mind.
Yes. So we'll do one thing. We'll see. We'll have to look in that in the book, but I don't have the time to read the book. But there is a book by Sremdo in Greece by Amal Kiran. Maybe I'll discuss the issue there. Okay, so we continue now. We will go to the next one. So, Yasmin, do you have the text? You can read the next one.
Sorry, I don't have the text today.
Okay, then whoever has the text, Archana, do you have the text? Maybe Archana is not there. So, who else has the text? Pallavi, you have the text? No, she is in Singapore.
Yes, Ranga. No, I have the text.
You have the text? Oh,
yes,
very
Ranga.
good. Then you read.
But the Gita accepts this Stoic discipline, this heroic philosophy, on the same condition that it accepts the tamasic recoil. It must have above it the sattvic vision of knowledge, at its root the aim at self-realization, and in its steps the ascent to the divine nature. A Stoic discipline which merely crushed down the common affections of our human nature, although less dangerous than a tamasic weariness of life, unfruitful pessimism and sterile inertia, because it would at least increase the power and self-mastery of the soul, would still be no unmixed good, since it might lead to insensibility and an inhuman isolation without giving the true spiritual release. The Stoic equality is justified as an element in the discipline of the Gita because it can be associated with and can help with the realization of the free, immutable self in the mobile human being, param drishtva, and to status in that new self-consciousness, Isa Brahmi Sthita, awakening by the understanding to the higher, which is beyond even the discerning mind, put force on the self by the self to make it firm and still, and slay this enemy who is so hard to assail, desire. Both the tamasic recoil of escape and the rajasic movement of struggle and victory are only justified when they look beyond themselves through the sattvic principle to the self-knowledge which legitimizes both the recoil and the struggle.
Yeah. So, Srendu is saying that the Gita accepts the tamasic recoil, the rajasic recoil, but of course the best one is the sattvic equality. So, and finally you have the spiritual equality. So, he's saying that although the tamasic equality is nothing like the true equality, still it's a starting point. Okay? So, that's the first one. And second one also is saying the Gita accepts, although it is very far from the real equality. Why? Because in the Stoic equality, you are cutting away all pain, but you are also cutting away all pleasure. Okay? So that may lead you to an insensitivity and a sense of indifference, but indifference in a very negative manner, not a positive manner. Okay? That means you are absolutely untouched by people's sufferings. Okay? You become insensitive. That danger is there in the rajasic equality, because you are not interested also. I'm not interested in everybody else's suffering, because you have conquered suffering and you are not interested. So the real thing you have to go, this suffering of others must affect you in this sense that you are sensitive to it, but not affected. When you are in the cosmic, this is a very interesting thing. When you are in the cosmic consciousness, okay, the suffering of others affects you. Okay? But that's why there are three levels of the cosmic consciousness. The first level of, when you are in the normal consciousness, you are not one with everybody. But when you go to the second level of the spiritual planes, if you are lucky, or if your nature allows, you will be in the cosmic consciousness, you will be sensitive to others' pleasures and also their pain, if you remember. As Srindu says, in the cosmic consciousness, the pain of the deer being killed by a tiger affects you. The pain affects you. But also the exhilaration of the tiger also affects you. So, in the highest level of equality, you are sensitive to all these, but you are untouched. They don't touch you at all. But you are sensitive to it. It's very subtle. Okay? And the highest level of cosmic consciousness, you are not only untouched, but you also can cure the pain of others. These three levels are there. First, you are touched. Okay? I give you one example. Okay? The famous example in our spiritual literature, where the yogi is seeing a bullock being whipped, and the whip marks appear on his own back. Okay, physically, not a subtle physical way. So he is affected by that. He feels the pain, even physically. That's the first example. In another example, which happened in the ashram, mother was one day in the playground. She was vomiting. Okay? And then later on, we came to know that she was thinking of a girl who had come from Sweden and who used to teach our girls calisthenics. From there, the mass drill started. Okay? Mass drill was, many girls used to come together and do one drill all together. So she was this teacher, and she was in Golconda. She was having a fit of vomiting. And mother was thinking of her, and she had the same reaction. So this is you are affected by the suffering of others. Okay? Even physically, vitally, and mentally also. But then another level you go, then you are sensitive to others, but you are not affected. You are not affected, but you are sensitive to others. So the rajasic equality, the sensitiveness to others may disappear. That is the danger which Srindu is talking about. We'll go through the text and we got 5 minutes, we'll go through the text, and that's what he's saying. And the third level of cosmic consciousness, you have the power to even change the suffering of others, to relieve the pain of others. Okay? I'm reading the text which we read just now, which was read by Pallavi. But the Gita accepts this stoic discipline, this heroic philosophy, which is it? You meet the nature and your nature's difficulties of attraction, ego, and desire, and conquer it. Okay. In other words, you become master of it. You won't let nature affect you, but you become master of nature. The Gita accepts the stoic discipline, the heroic philosophy, on the same condition that it accepts the tamasic requirement. It must have above it. Okay? It must have above it the sattvic vision of knowledge. At its root, the aim at self-realization, and in its steps, the ascent to the divine nature. So, very clearly he is telling you, above you, you have not yet realized it, but you have the sattvic vision of knowledge. Okay? And the root, the aim in you is very, very clear. You have to realize your soul. And in its steps, the ascent to the divine nature. So this stoic discipline is one of the steps to the divine nature. A stoic discipline which merely crushed down the common affections of our human nature, although less dangerous than a tamasic weariness of life, unfruitful pessimism, and sterile inertia, because it would at least increase the power and self-mastery of the soul, would still be no unmixed good. There is a lot of good in Rajasic equality, but it's not unmixed. And it's explaining why. Since it might lead to insensibility and an inhuman isolation without giving the true spiritual release. So, the tamasic recoil can end in a weariness of life. You get tired of life. Unfruitful pessimism. Okay? You are pessimistic, but it leads nowhere. And sterile inertia. Note the very interesting, weariness of life can even end in suicide. Okay? So it's a dangerous thing. If you are tired of life, you want to get out of life. That can happen. Unfruitful pessimism. Oh, existence in the physical world is of no use at all. But what's the solution? So it's a sterile condition. Sterile, it doesn't produce any result, inertia. Then what about the Rajasic equality? It can make you insensitive. So both these are accepted as starting points, but they are not the final. The Stoic equality is justified as an element in the discipline of the Gita because it can be associated with and can help to the realization of a free, immutable self in the mobile human being, param drishtva. Param drishtva, when you have the realization of the soul, when you see it, then you get the real equality. Okay? It can help. The Rajasic equality can help to the real realization of the self. And to status. And status means absolutely no movement at all in the self. In that new self-consciousness, Esha Brahmi Sthiti. When you are in the second level of consciousness, the second level of existence, the spiritual planes, that's a Brahmi Sthiti, the Brahmic condition. Now, Srila is quoting again, verse 72 from chapter 2. Awakening by the understanding to the highest, which is beyond even the discerning mind, put force on the self, by the self, to make it firm and still and slay this enemy who is so hard to assail, desire. So, when you go to that level, you have to continue to slay the desire. Both the tamasic recoil of escape and the Rajasic movement of struggle and victory are only justified when they look beyond themselves through the sattvic principle, to the self-knowledge which legitimizes both the recoil and the struggle. The recoil is the tamasic equality and the struggle is the Rajasic equality, but you have to go to the third level of equality, which is the perfect one. Okay. Now exactly 8:40, so we have to stop here. So next time we will take up the Sattvic equality. What is meant by that? It's almost one page, and we will take it up next time. Okay. So equality first. Yeah. Au revoir, everybody. You can see.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, au revoir. Equality has got so many stages.
Bonjour, Rangana.
Bonjour and au revoir, everybody.
All right.